Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for March 9, 2022, the Guilty Edition. We begin with that story as Guy Reffitt has been found guilty as the first Capitol insurrectionist of January 6 to go to trial. He led a pro-Trump mob and advance on the police at the Capitol, carried weapons into the police, and most significantly threatened the life of his son and daughter if they turned him in to the authorities, which of course they did. His son testified at trial about the toxic atmosphere in his family and his father's death threats to him. So the first person to go to trial was convicted. The defense was almost non-existent with a 3-minute opening and not calling any witnesses. They are basically trying to claim that the corruption claims against him have to be thrown out. So good luck with that one. But a big win for the Department of Justice. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal, Dylan Tokar reporting, Russia's MTS has agreed to an additional year of monitorship. The company claimed in a statement that this was really just no big deal. It was because of the pandemic and things couldn't get done. But companies don't agree to additional monitorship unless there's an issue that the monitor is not happy with. So it's not clear what that issue may or may not be. Nevertheless, MTS has agreed to additional years, so it must have been pretty bad conduct. Next up, from Reuters, Elon Musk, the CEO who never stops giving, gave again another gift to the SEC and those who follow the SEC by going to court to try to have his consent decree overturned. 2018 consent decree where he had tweeted he was going to take the company public at 420 and 8 days later pulled that, or take it private and 8 days later pulled that. Of course, that was a clear securities law violation. Although he did not admit or deny to it, he agreed to the consent order. And now he wants to get out of his consent order. And the reason he wants to get out of his consent order is he wants to continue his unabated tweeting. He claims the government is engaging in prior restraint and keeping him from commenting on such things as the share price of his company and other matters. So he wants the consent decree thrown out. He tried to use the consent decree to stop subpoenas from the Securities and Exchange Commission, who investigated him for continued alleged violations of the consent decree, and the judge threw those those filings out. So now he's trying to get the whole kit and caboodle. Good luck. And finally, from the Washington Post, the ex-premier of Kuwait was acquitted on corruption charges in that country. So an acquittal. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.